Yes, Mr. Roy?
May it please the court, my lady?
Mr. Lamb, sorry.
I call the first witness, Kim Martin. Before I get the witness to go to stand, my lady, I would ask the court to make an order that the witness not be televised and that there be no images of this witness published.
What's the name of the witness again?
Kim Martin.
Kim Martin, Mr. Martin. This is the order, or that's Miss? Mrs. or Miss? Miss. Miss, thank you. No images of this witness may be published in any form.
As the court pleases.
The witness may be sworn in.
Ma'am, please state your full names for the record.
Kim Michelle Martin.
Do you have any objection in taking a prescribed oath?
I don't.
Do you consider a prescribed oath to be binding on your conscience?
I do.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
The witness is sworn in, my lady. Please speak directly into the microphone if you want to see the chair behind you. The witness is sworn in, my lady.
Thank you very much.
Madam, I know you're nervous. If you want to sit down, with leave of the court, you're allowed to sit down, you're allowed to stand as you feel comfortable.
Thank you.
Did you know the deceased in this matter?
Yes, I did. The deceased Reva Rebecca Stankamp was my cousin. I'm the eldest cousin. I'm 12 years older than her. She was my first cousin.
Explain the family relation. But yeah, fathers and or mothers.
Okay, we're a very small family. Our fathers are brothers, two brothers. And there's two children, my sister and myself with my father, and my uncle has Reva and a son from her first marriage, and Auntie June has a daughter from her first marriage.
Good. So let us deal with the deceased family. So it was a son from Barry's first marriage. The son's name is?
That's correct. It's Adam Steenkamp. That's Uncle Barry's son from his first marriage, and he lives in the UK.
And from June Steenkamp's first marriage?
June Steenkamp has a daughter, Simone Coburn, that was living in the UK at the time of Reva's death, but is now moved back to South Africa to live with her parents in PE.
Now, please explain to the court, when Reva was born, where were you staying? Where were they staying?
Both our families, my dad and his brother, were both staying in Cape Town. We all lived in a suburb of Cape Town called Tableview, in very close proximity of each other. Uncle Barry had a horse riding stables situated about 1 kilometre down the road, and we lived in the suburban area.
You spent time together with the Barry and June?
We spent all our time together. Uncle Barry had the horses, as I said, and my sister and I both rode. And we were at the farm, we called the farm, but the small holding, every single day after school. Sometimes before school, we'd go and ride the horses. Auntie June would fetch us. Every single weekend, from the minute we were finished school, straight down to the farm. Sundays, right through to Sunday. We were a very, very close family.
Strange way of putting it, but you met Reva when she was just born, small baby.
Reva was the first baby I'd ever held. I remember I was 12 years old at the time. And the first time I was ever asked by anybody if I'd like to hold, and I remember I was so nervous and I was scared that I would drop her. And Auntie June gave her to me, and I held her in my arms, and I remember she didn't even cry. And I still said, Auntie June said, you see, Kimmy, you're a natural, she loves you. There was a very strong bond from a very young age.
And growing up, what kind of child was the deceased?
Reva was a very fun-loving child. She grew up with a lot of old children around her, but she was always like the little Pied Piper. You know, he would follow her around. She had a very nurturing personality from a very young age, and she'd want to look after everybody, even the adults. There was always a lot of people around because being a horse riding stables, people would come over the weekends to ride their horses and during the week. So there was a lot of interaction with other people, a lot of socializing. And Reva, from a young age, stood out. There was just something about her. She was like a little missy, you know.
There's an incident about a poodle that you told me about.
Auntie June and Uncle Barry both love animals. And they had a poodle called Jade that Auntie June had had for many, many years. And the last 6 months of its life, it became paralyzed. And Reva took it upon herself to carry the poodle around to become its legs. So if you'll see photos of her carrying Jade wherever she went, because she became Jade's legs. Because the alternative was to put her down, and Reva performed and said she's not going to put the dog down.
Now, what was the financial situation of Reva's parents at the time?
Their financial situation was always strained. They have always battled financially. In the beginning, they made do, but it's a very, very difficult industry to be in. You're looking after people's animals, and in this industry, people tend not to pay you. And Uncle Barry would never turn anybody away, turn the horse away, and it became a family joke. You know, Uncle Barry would feed horses, so how can he turn people away? Turn horses away. So they battled financially. They really battled. For as long as I can remember, they've always battled.
But he worked hard.
Yeah, he was always a very hard worker. Always get up 4 o'clock every morning before the sun, get down to the stables. There's a lot of physical hard work, feeding lots of horses. You need to, very physical. When he was training, eventually then to get up and train before the sun comes out. Organizing a lot of physical work on the farm until long hours, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. He's a very, very physically hard-working man.
The family then moved to Port Elizabeth, am I right?
That's correct.
What was the circumstances there?
The reason why they moved from Cape Town was because Uncle Barry had moved. He'd started. He'd first trained to become a horse racing trainer, and he'd got his certificate, qualified, and they'd moved from Cape Town to Port Elizabeth so that he could get into the racing world in Port Elizabeth. When you're starting out, it's a little bit easier to get into the racing world, and there was more opportunities for him then.
And financially, was it much better, or what was the situation then?
I think in the beginning for a little while it was, but unfortunately, once again, when you're dealing with animals, it's very, very difficult. And their financial situation slowly but surely started to deteriorate again.
And the mother? Auntie June, as you referred to her?
Auntie June also worked very hard. At first, she always did something on the sideline, you know, to earn extra money. Would be, she ran a little parlour for dogs at one stage when they were in Cape Town still. Then when she moved up to PE, she would do something on the side. But she always helped Uncle Barry. So she found a little empty building, and she started selling stuff to the, not just to the jockeys, but to the staff and the labourers that were working with the horses. like a little spaza shop. She opened one of those for the stable boys to earn extra money on the sideline. That was her little business.
And apart from that business, as far as Auntie Jean is concerned, you told me something about a laundry.
She did that and earned some money and did very well, long hours. And then I think an opportunity, I'm not quite sure how it came about, was to open up a laundry. It was close by to where they were staying in Seabreeze in Port Elizabeth. And she opened the laundry, but it was very long hours, lots and lots of hard work, and it was basically just herself. And I think she had one employee, and she would work from morning early, washing, hanging up, drying. She did make money. She did very well because she worked so hard, but it was very, very hard work.
And the deceased in this matter went to school in Port Elizabeth.
That's correct. She went to an all-girls convent school.
And did you do well at school?
She did very well. Reva was a very, very hard worker, very meticulous. Everything had to always be so and neat, tidy. She took her schoolwork very seriously. Her mom used to joke that in the mornings Reva would get herself dressed and go and wait by the car and tap her feet, waiting for her mom to take her to school. She was a very hard worker. She got that from her parents. She definitely got that from them.
And she studied later.
And then after school, she went on to study at NMMU, and she studied law.
How did she manage to get enough funds to go study?
Through her good marks at school, she got a bursary.
She studied with a bursary. And do you know if she finalized her studies, if she obtained a degree?
Yes, she did. She got a degree. She got an LLB.
Let us deal with the deceased and relationships with men. Do you know of any?
After school, because before that Auntie June was very strict and Reva wasn't allowed boyfriends. And after school during her studies, she started a relationship with one of Uncle Barry's jockeys. She got into a relationship with a gentleman called Wayne. And it was a very, very emotionally abusive relationship. It wasn't physically abusive, it was emotionally abusive.
And how did that work out?
I didn't know about it at the time because I was living in Cape Town and I'd had children and husband, and I kind of said we lost contact for a while. So at the time I didn't know how much it affected her. I heard via family members that Reva was having trouble. But it was only once we reconnected later on in life, when Reva was an adult and she was living in Joburg, she confided in me in what that relationship, what it was about and what it had done to her and how it affected her and to what extent it was, how abusive it actually was.
Now, she was still at school when she had an accident, or during her studies?
Yes, during her studies. She had a horse riding accident where she actually broke her back, and they put her in traction. I can't remember exactly how long. It was a couple of weeks, 6 weeks, months, I'm not sure, I can't remember. But it was very severe. They put in traction and they turned her daily. She had to lie flat, completely immobilized, tied to the bed, and they turned her around so she could face like that. It was a very, very intense procedure of recovery.
And that made her think and take stock of her life.
Yeah, that's one of the things Reva said to me, that she was studying law because she wanted to work hard, and her dad had told her she must work hard in her life and get a law degree. And her whole life she'd worked hard, but that her life can end in a split second. And I think it was the time that she had to think, all those weeks and months, She said she made a conscious decision that she was going to get her degree, finish, but she was going to pursue the modelling career that she had. And there was a big consideration because there was finances that she could make more money there, the opportunity to make more money there. And that life can be over so quickly. You know, you work so hard for something, but it might not be that path. So it was a big life-changing experience for her.
Making money for what?
To put her in a position to be able to look after her parents. She wanted to be able to do that. Reva's very, very first paycheck she ever received through modelling when she was still a young teenager, she gave to her parents to pay for her schooling for the year. Reva was just like that. She wanted to look after her parents.
Now, to pursue this career as a model, she moved to Johannesburg. Am I right?
That's correct.
Just explain to the court what happened there.
It was I think one of two reasons. One reason was so that there were a couple of opportunities lined up for her career, and then one was to be able to break away from the abusive relationship, to get out of that situation. I remember she joked with me and said to me she's not even telling her dad where she stays because she just needs to break away completely. Well, she did tell him, but she needed to get away from PE. And the opportunities all fell in place at the same time.
And carry on. And she got opportunities since she started working. Where and what did she do?
The first job that I know of that she got, permanent position that she got in Johannesburg, was working at Fashion TV. She was like, position would have been hostess, public relations. I know she really enjoyed it. She loved it. She loved to be mixing with people, hosting. She was very good in front of the camera. I know she was very happy in that position.
Now, during that time, what kind of person was she? Was she a depressed person, happy person?
I'd say she was very happy then. You know, she was doing something completely different from what she'd done her whole life, work hard. She was now having a little bit of fun and earning money. Working hard at school, studying, and now she was still working hard, but having a bit of fun and earning money. She was earning a good salary.
There was this. She had a ritual during December and over Christmas. What was that?
Every year, December, from the time she left PE, except for one last one before she died, but every single year she went home to PE to her parents. She spent a month in Port Elizabeth with her parents. That was her ritual. She never ever missed. In 2012, she told me she'd never missed 1 year. She always went home to her parents in December.
Was family important to her?
Family was very, very important to Reva. Family was everything. I would say compared to the normal person on the street, for Reva, family was unbelievably important. She would instigate family gatherings. She'd make excuses to get everybody together. I remember when she came to stay with us for a little while, she would inquire, she'd ask me the whole time, she was very curious, why don't I go down to my mum for tea every afternoon? And I said, but I don't. You live here, you know. She loved family gatherings. She loved braais and getting together and cooking in the kitchen, and she was very, very family orientated. One thing I need to just say is, as much as they battled financially, the amount of love that Reva never ever wanted for love. That's where her love for family came from. And for as little money as they had double that in love, made up for it in love. And Reva was a very loved person, and she loved spending time with family.
Now, dealing with that, so financially back at home, they were still struggling.
Yes.
And did Reva contribute to her parents at all financially?
Yes, I know she helped them out from time to time. I know that, I think it was about 2011, 2012, when she was staying with me. I know personally of her paying for the medical aid. I think the medical aid had lapsed, and Reva knew that it was important that the family needed medical aid, and she had it reinstated and carried on paying it.
That brings us to Cape Town, when she moved down to Cape Town. What was the circumstances there?
Reva moved down to Cape Town. She came to live with us for about 6 months. It was an on and off over a period of about 6 months. How she landed up there was that her boyfriend at the time, Warren, was opening a branch of his business in Cape Town, which just happened to be very close to where we live. And the guest house where they were staying, the facilities weren't very nice, and she asked if she could come and use the shower. But we'd arranged that she'd take that opportunity to meet up and get together, and we can go for dinner or whatever. And when she was there, we were talking, and she mentioned that there might be opportunity for a shoot with her agency in Cape Town. And I remember we basically begged her, myself and the kids, please come and stay down here. Please, you can stay with us. Because my children had bonded with her incredibly. My daughters absolutely adored her and just fell in love with her. And one night became 1 week, and she stayed with us for the whole week. And then she went back up to Johannesburg, spoke to Warren, found out everything was going to be okay, organised with her modelling agency, and put her car on a train, and then came down to Cape Town and stayed with us. The first time was about 4 weeks, and then she would go home for a week, and then she'd come back again for 4 weeks. Her idea was, she wasn't happy in Johannesburg. She said it was very difficult in the modelling industry, a lot of falseness, cutthroat business, and she felt she needed to be with family. And at that time, she realized that her relationship with Warren was going to come to an end, and she was looking towards her future. And she said to me, she knows if she's in Cape Town, if she can make it in Cape Town with her career, then she's at least got family. She's got us with her.
I think we should perhaps just inform the court about the relationship with Warren. After Wayne, she went to Joburg, and there she entered into a relationship with a man called Warren.
Yes, yeah. I think about after a year or so of being in Joburg, when she moved up, she met a gentleman called Warren LaHood, who was a very nice guy. He treated Reva very well. He was one of those real down-to-earth, salt of the earth, gentleman, soft, kind, loving. And Reva loved him as well. My husband and I, we said, Reva couldn't have found a nicer guy. Really, they had a very good relationship. I think the only reason the relationship came to an end was Reva was moving into a new stage of her life. She was thinking about having children, and Warren was, I think he was about 2 years younger than her. He wasn't ready for that. His career was taking off, and he was a workaholic. He worked very, very hard, and he said he's not ready to have children. And Reva knew that they loved each other, but they had become very good friends. And she was very honest with herself. She listened to herself, and when she realized that this relationship wasn't going to take her into the future with kids, that she couldn't see herself having children with Warren one day, she realized that she was going to have to end it. And that was her thinking in coming down to Cape Town. Hopefully her career could take off in Cape Town, and then she could be surrounded with family, because that ultimately is what she wanted. She said to me that it tore her apart that she couldn't be with her parents in PE, but she knew that the career wouldn't allow her no work in PE. She said she wished she could take her parents and move them to Cape Town or move them to Joburg, but she knew that wasn't possible. But she was consumed with the fact that she was not spending time with her family and that she wasn't with her family.
Now, so she bonded with your children, she stayed with you. Was she worried about her parents at the time?
Yeah, she was very worried about her parents. And at the time, specifically at the time that she was staying with us, Uncle Barry was going through quite a hard time with work. Things hadn't worked out for him as he planned. It was a very tough time in that industry. And it was just, he came across one hurdle after the other. And business-wise, he was in a very, very bad position, a difficult position. And she was very concerned about him. And then his health started taking a toll as well. He had sugar diabetes, and I know at that time, that was why I knew about the medical aid, that he had taken a turn for the worse. So she was extremely worried and concerned. She was consumed with earning money, looking after them, about her dad's health, about not living with family. It was a difficult time. She was very worried.
And the breakup with Warren, was that a traumatic time for her?
It was very traumatic. I remember her telling me, Kimmy, it's worse than a divorce. Or it's equal to a divorce. And I know it affected her. I know how much she actually really loved Warren, but she knew that the relationship wasn't going to go any further. It was very, very traumatic. So Reva's, like I said, because she's so family-orientated, she was now losing another little part of family that she did have in Johannesburg.
And there's something about her cats.
Yes, Reva loves animals. Absolutely mad about animals. And she had fed these stray cats that eventually became permanent residents in her house and were her children, her baby. She loved them. And when she was in the process of packing up and moving, the one cat ran away, and I remember she was devastated. She was heartbroken. And that happened first. And then her other cat, luckily, was still there. And then when moving it, she eventually moved in with the Myers. And the cat couldn't stay there for very long. And she phoned me crying over the phone. I remember I was busy camping. And she said, I don't know what to do. I feel so guilty. I can't put him down, but I've got nowhere to take him. My mom can't have any more animals. They've got too many. So I kind of joked and said, I'll take him. And she said, oh, thank you very much. And I couldn't say no. And within 6 hours, she'd flown him down to me. That's how important her cats were to her.
But the cats, something happened to the cat then?
Yes. Because she was in such a hurry to get the cat down to us, I was still camping at the time. And the company that handles transporting of animals brought the cat to the house. I unfortunately wasn't back from camping yet. And my 2 young daughters had to receive the cat, and they hadn't locked it away properly in the bedroom, and it got out. And I remember I was devastated. My husband and I shortened our camping trip. We packed up immediately. The girls were beside themselves crying. How are we going to tell Reva the cat's gone? It's flown all the way. It's gone through all this traumatic experience, flying all the way down to Cape Town. And now it arrives here and it runs away. And we searched everywhere for it. And I just remember for 2 days, Reva kept on saying, how's Milky? How's he doing? Send me pics. And I avoided her. I was beside myself. I was so scared. I didn't know how I was going to tell her, because I know for her that is like losing a child. And I felt so responsible because she'd entrusted me with the responsibility. And eventually when I did tell her, I knew I just had to be brave and just eventually own up. And I just said to her, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to tell you this, that's why I've been avoiding you for 2 days. He ran away. And she said, don't worry, Kimmy, it's fine. I think I'm being punished for being selfish. Broke up with Warren. My one cat ran away. My life is just not in control, and I think I'm being punished for that. And that's how seriously that she took this, you know. And I remember telling her, don't worry, Reva, it's got nothing to do with that. Everybody knows how much you love your animals, and you deserve to be happy. You know, you need to do what makes you happy in life. Luckily, we found the cat. It came back about a month and a half later. So I could go back to her and tell her that it had come back.
Now, at the time, Barry's horse business, he lost everything, am I right?
Basically, that closed down completely. Yeah.
And he got involved in some other business venture.
He started doing a wood chipping business, which where they supply wood shavings to the horse racing industry for the horses' bedding. He started doing that. It's very, very hard work, very physically hard work again, and the return is not very great. You're supplying wood chips, so it was very, very difficult. And I think at one stage, when Reva was staying with us, the machine had actually broken down, and he had, at that stage, then no form of income.
And June, what did she do during that time?
June was working. She was running a little canteen at the race course. On race day, she would make toasted sandwiches. She had a little kitchen, like a little tiny mini restaurant that she ran. But it was only on race days. She would go and early in the morning, make all the food, serve it, much like the restaurant upstairs, like that, for the jockeys at the racing stable, at the race course. But as I said, that was also only on race days, which is like twice a week, 3 times a week.
Before we carry on with other business ventures, although they went through financial hard times, they were always generous people, you told me.
Very generous. I think that is one of the main reasons why they always landed up in financial situations. Their home was always open to everybody. You can ask anybody from a young age. I remember anybody who was going through a hard time, needed a place to stay, landed up at Uncle Barry's house and Auntie June's house. Friends of the family whose son was wayward landed up there, staying there. He needed a place to stay. He ended up staying. Uncle Barry employed him. He gave him a job. He made a job for him. Jockeys were continuously living there. They never had an empty household. Their house was always full of people, always feeding them, looking after them. All the stray animals. Auntie June's forever picking up all the animals, looking. She can't say no. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they've landed up in the financial situations that they have. And that was why Reva was the kind of person she was, why she was so caring and so giving and had such much empathy, because she got that from her parents.
Then June got involved in the Barking Spider. Just tell us about that.
That was a business opportunity that came about just before Reva passed away. It's a small little restaurant, it's in an industrial area in Port Elizabeth, close to the race course. It's very small, very humble, pretty run down, but there was opportunity to make a lunchtime trade for the industrial area, and they were very excited about it. An opportunity to make a good enough living. And Auntie June went into it with 2 partners, 2 friends of hers at the time. And I remember they were very excited about this. And it was just the 3 of them. They would do all the cooking, all the cleaning, all the serving, working behind the bar.
3 ladies.
3 ladies. Auntie June and 2 of her friends at the time.
Still running.
It is still running.
Now, whilst we're dealing with the financial difficulties, now during that time, what mode of transport did they use? Cars, new cars, or what cars did they use?
No, I don't think they've ever owned a new car in their life. They drive around in very very broken down cars. Auntie June's car, I think you had to all climb in the front door. Only had 2 doors and the one door didn't work, so you all had to get in the one side. Something like that. Uncle Barry's always driven in Buckies. Their cars are not in good condition.
So the Barking Spider was just before the incident, and then it happened. It was the 14th of February 2013. How did you learn about this?
My husband and myself were driving to work. We were caught it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were caught in rush hour traffic. I was quite tired. I'd put my seat back and I was lying back. I had my feet on the dash. And the radio DJ came on. And he said, breaking news, not confirmed. And he kept on saying that. He said it about 4 or 5 times. And I remember thinking, this must be big, and would he just hurry up and get on with it? And I still said to my husband, just spit it out. And then he said, Oscar Pistorius. And I remember the minute he said his name, I jumped up in the front seat. And I froze, and the next words were, allegedly shot his girlfriend. And I remember saying to my husband, I hope to God he is cheating on Reva.
Please take a seat. Take a seat. We'll take an adjournment.
Can we? Thank you. Thank you, Melody.
Yes, you think you're ready to proceed, Mrs. Martin?
Fine.
You
Yes, thank you, lady.
You feel more comfortable standing?
Can I sit, please?
Yes, yes. Please sit.
Can we just reorganize the microphones before we carry on?
You're still under oath?
Yes, my lady.
So, you heard the news. You said to your husband, you hoped that he had an affair and it's not Reva. What happened there?
And I just remember my husband turning the car around in the traffic.
But did you know who it was, or you didn't know it?
No, I had no idea. No, I was just praying that it wasn't Reva. And they hadn't confirmed the name. They had said his girlfriend. And I remember immediately turn around, and he said, "Let's go to your mom." And I got on my phone, and I was trying to phone her, and I was phoning and phoning and phoning. She wasn't answering, and I started screaming, and my husband said, "Just calm down, we don't know anything yet." And I just wanted to get to my mother so I could know if everything was fine. I just wanted to hear that everything was fine. And we arrived at my mother's house, and I could see the minute we arrived, the doors open, my mother was hysterical. And then I knew, that's it, it's true. And I still remember hoping, and I went inside and I said to her, "Please just tell me, are you sure it's Reva?" And she said, "Yes, I'm sorry it is." Because I spoke to Auntie June this morning. Spoke to Auntie June now. And that was, for me, the end of the world. Everything was just a blur from then onwards. Family were just running around. My husband raced to fetch my daughter in boarding school so she wouldn't hear it from somebody else. My son came home from work. My sister came home, and everybody was just like running around crazy and shouting and screaming. And my husband took control, and he booked tickets immediately. My mum and dad and my sister got on the first flight, and we decided to stay one day. I can't remember now why. There was a reason. And it was just the worst experience I've ever been through. I remember my parents left, and I felt like I wanted to be there with them. And they went down to Uncle Barry and Auntie June. And I was thinking in my mind the whole time, I'm dreading. I don't know how to face them. I don't know how to face Auntie June and Uncle Barry. I was thinking, how can I face them? And they've been through this, that this has happened to Reva. How can I even look at them? And when we arrived in PE, it was just a madhouse. It was just people in and out, wishing and coming in with flowers, and it was like crazy. And Uncle Barry and Auntie June, they were like in a dwell. It was a horrible time. Everyone was fighting. My mum and my dad were arguing with each other. And we were all like, why? Why Reva? I can't even remember the next couple of days. I just remember we had to arrange funeral, and everyone was thinking, how can you do that? No one wanted to take responsibility for that. It was horrible.
Madam, can I just ask you to focus on June and Barry? When you got there, how did they react? What were they doing?
My aunt was hysterical. She had been looked after by someone, and they were helping her to cope with it. They had medicated her. She was very medicated. And she just walked around like shrugging her shoulders the whole time. My uncle sat in the corner, was crying.
So, before we carry on, this whole incident, so what impact did it have on the family? We can see what impact it still has on you, but on the family, on Barry and June.
It's terrible. I'd say it's ruined our whole family.
It's ruined Uncle Barry and Auntie June. Reva was everything to them. You know, she was their only child in PE for a long time. And they absolutely adored her. They were so proud of her, what she had accomplished. And she looked after them so well, you know, not just financially. Reva that's why I was so worried about facing them, because I didn't know how they were going to cope. I didn't think they'd be able to cope with knowing that Reva wasn't there.
Unfortunately, we have to go through detail, and let us just inform the court. In Cape Town, there were 3 children. It was Adam, Reva, and Simone. When they moved to PE,
right.
What happened there? Who was in the house still?
Simone had got married by that time, had her own children, so she wasn't living there with them. And Adam, Reva's older brother, had moved to England with his mom. So it was only Reva in Port Elizabeth with her parents.
Yeah. This incident, did it affect the health of Barry and June?
Yes, I'd say so. Uncle Barry's health has suffered quite a bit. He wasn't very well to begin with, and he's had a couple of strokes because of it. Taking its toll. I mean, physically, it's very, very draining. This whole process of coming here, flying up, we're very worried about him being able to cope with it. Not only June, the signs of stress and trauma are obvious. You know, they always try to be strong. Through this whole thing, they've tried to remain strong and have dignity. And I think they are very strong people, because to cope with what they have coped with.
You discussed the fact that you're giving evidence to them today with them.
Yes, I did.
What did they say? What was their attitude?
I spoke to my uncle and my aunt last night. I just wanted to make sure that they were okay. They were going to be okay with me talking about them. And I was worried that I'd disappoint them. And they said to me, no. I have their blessing. And that I must be Reva's voice. My uncle said he's very proud of me, and no matter what I do, I'll never make a mistake. And he said he would love to be able to stand here. He'd love to take the stand, but he can't. He said he would just lose it.
Now, and the impact on your family, you yourself, physically, and your health-wise?
Well, I've been for trauma counselling. I'm currently seeing a psychologist. I'm on medication for depression and anxiety. My children are in therapy. My daughter has even been... She was even... She was even in an institution for youth for coping mechanisms. To be able to cope, she was in there for 2 weeks. Her and Reva were very close. and she couldn't cope with this. My son's received counselling and my youngest daughter as well.
Now, it was never easy for you to be here today. Apart from the emotional stress, you also had other family commitments that you had to deal with. What was that?
My eldest daughter's in matric, and she's busy doing her final drama exam today, which I'm going to miss. I'm not there for her. This is a final matric drama exam.
You wanted to be here. You're shaking your head. You decided to be here.
I knew I had to be here.
Why?
I had to do this. I had to do this for Reva. I owe it to her. And my daughter said she understands. Because I know Reva needs a voice, and it's my way of being able to pay her back, for what she went through.
She got involved in women's rights issues. Do you know about that?
I know how she personally felt about it because of her situation and her past. I knew how strongly she felt about women abuse and strengthening women's characters. She wanted to also work with empowering women. So once they're abused, work with that, but also to empower women. So she wanted it so that they could be avoided of being in abuse. I know of the project that she did, which was getting involved in. She was going to speak at the girls' school. That was supposed to be on the 14th of February. That was one of the things that I knew. And that was because her thing was that she wanted to stop girls from allowing themselves to be in those situations. And I know there were a few other things lined up, but I don't know of them offhand.
Let us just spend some time on her career, what she achieved that you can think of now.
One of her first achievements that I know of was the Face of Avon in Port Elizabeth. She won that contract. She was chosen as the Face of Avon to represent Avon. And she was in various catalogues, wedding catalogues and things like that in Port Elizabeth. And then when she moved to Johannesburg, she also numerous photographic work, catalogue work. She got into the FHM. She was chosen as an FHM model. And I know that Reva was very happy about that. She worked really hard. There was lots of dedication, self-discipline to get into that. She was very proud of herself. And
she got into the cover of FHM?
She did, yes. I think she was on the November cover, December cover of FHM.
Okay.
Or February, I'm not quite sure.
And just before death, there was also a TV program. Do you know about that?
Yes, my lady, that was the TV show Tropica. Few people auditioned for it, and Reva got it. It was the show where they had the elimination. I'm not quite sure of the full name, but it was televised. And she was very happy about that. She was extremely excited about that job.
Have you met the accused?
I have met him once, yes, my lady.
Where?
I met him in Cape Town. Him and Reva met with myself and my daughter and her friend for breakfast one morning when they were down here. Reva, it was the 2nd of January. And Reva had contacted me and said, would I like to go for coffee the next morning? I thought she was joking because I knew she wasn't in Cape Town. And I said, yes, I'd love to. And she said, yes, because Oz is going to fly me down, take me on holiday for 2 days. And I'd like to meet up with you and go for some coffee.
Yeah. Just before we go on, we're talking about January 2013.
That's correct.
Now, that Christmas, where was she?
That was the first Christmas that Reva never went back to PE. She couldn't make it for work purposes. And I remember she was very, very torn up about that. So she to make up for it, she flew down to PE just before that and took her parents away on I think it was a week, a couple of days, stay on a game farm. But it was the first Christmas in all of the years that she hadn't been living at home that she had not spent Christmas with her parents.
She also did not spend Christmas with the accused. And neither the 1st of January. Or don't you know?
No, she didn't. I know she didn't spend New Year's Eve with the accused, no.
What did you do on New Year's Eve, do you know?
I don't think she did anything. I think she stayed at home, if I remember correctly. She didn't really want to go out, so she ended up staying at home.
I think one thing we did not deal with is when she broke up a relationship with Warren, she had to move out of the apartment that they shared in Joburg. What happened then with her?
You're getting very soft.
Sorry, my lady.
Yes.
When she broke up the relationship with Warren Lahoud,
Yes.
she had to move out of the apartment that they shared, and she moved in with somebody else.
That's correct, my lady. She couldn't find a place to stay, a suitable place to stay that would take the cats. And she was very worried about it and crying to her friend, Gina Myers. And Gina's mom said to her, she could see how distraught she was, and she said, don't worry about it, Reva, you can come stay with us, move in with us for a while until you can find yourself your own place. And that's why she was living with the Myers when she broke up with Warren.
Was she happy staying there with the Myers?
Yes, she was very happy staying there. She loved being with family, so for her, she had family around her. They used to have dinners together as a family, sit around the table, which is something apparently the Myers didn't do very often until Reva got there. She would sit up at night time chatting to them in the bed for all hours, drinking tea. She was very happy there. I know towards the end she wanted to find her own place because she knew she needed to. She'd been there for a couple of months already, but she was very happy there.
Sorry, I interrupted you when we said Reva phoned you, said, would you want to meet her for coffee? I was just flying her down for a 2-day holiday. What happened then?
So then she said, Reva phoned me and she said, can we please go? I've got enough time to have breakfast. We're going to be driving through to Hermanus, but we'll have enough time to stop for breakfast. Can we please meet up for breakfast down the beach where our grandfather's ashes were scattered? She specifically wanted to go there so she could go to that restaurant so that she could go to where our grandfather's ashes were scattered, which is on a small little beach in Bloberg. And we ended up, she came to the house with Oscar, and we met there. She introduced us to Oscar, and from there we drove down in separate cars to the restaurant. I remember thinking when I first met him, I was obviously quite nervous and excited to meet this famous person. And I was so excited that I was going to get to see Reva. And I remember we opened the gate and she ran in and we hugged and kissed and she introduced him to him. She said, "Kimmy, this is Oz. Oz, this is Kimmy." And we went inside. And immediately the girls were also excited, and myself, and Reva went with me through to the bedroom, and she was commenting on my hair. I'd cut it, and so excited. And I still remember thinking, he's just standing there, you know. He came across quite shy, and I remember even still saying to Reva, "Can't leave him there. We must go back." And then we spent about 2 minutes basically and drove from there in our own cars down to the restaurant. And it was the 2nd of January, so it was crazy down at Bloberg Beach. Thousands and thousands of people, tourists. The beaches were packed, the restaurants were packed. And eventually got a table, sat down, and Cape Town service is terrible. And I remember everything just went wrong with our order. It didn't arrive on time, sent the wrong thing, and I remember thinking that Oscar was getting a little bit agitated. Not overboard, but I could see there was like agitation, you know. And I thought he's obviously just not used to Cape Town service. Reva and I were chatting. We were all chatting. He was chatting to the girls. He even gave my daughter advice about boarding school, what it's like to go to boarding school. I remember then thinking he was a very nice person. I didn't notice much affection, though, between the two of them. I remember there was a little bit of affection, but Reva mainly sat with her arms like this. And his phone rang, and he got up and left the table to go and to answer the call. And when he walked away, I said to Reva, "So, cuz, are you happy?" And she had a smile on her face, and she went, and she pulled her shoulders up like this, and she said, "Yes, but we need to talk." And I remember thinking, okay. But then Oscar returned to the table, and we carried on talking, and I never got a chance to, I never thought to ask her. I thought about it, but I just never got a chance to say to her, "What do you mean by that?" And I must admit that has bothered me forever since then, that I never said to her, "What do you mean by what do we have to talk?" We have to talk.
But I see it's 22. 22.3. There's an aspect that I need to consult with that I haven't. That's important.
Is it the last aspect?
Say again?
Is it the last aspect?
It's a last aspect. But Malady, my request would be that we stand down. It's one aspect, it won't take long, that we pursue this matter, resume with this matter tomorrow. I'll deal with the one aspect, and we deal with cross-examination then. I would have, in any case, have asked the court that, seeing that this witness is so emotional, that I would not have wanted her to be cross-examined today. So, Malady, I ask that we stand down until tomorrow morning at 9:30.
Yes. You still think we'll make it this week?
Lady, I hope so.
Yes, Mr. Wu?
And lady, of course, I can't stop it, but if it's not taking long, I can tell the court I'm not going to cross-examine, I'm going to ask 2 short questions, and it's not cross-examination. So maybe if Mr. Nel could spend time with 20 minutes, and this witness would not have to come back to the stand tomorrow.
Lady, I would prefer to deal with this in my own time. It will need time. I repeat my request, my lady. Even if we finish this witness tomorrow in 2 minutes, that's fine. But I would need time this afternoon to consult with this witness about an aspect. I would not ask the court for time if I did not need it.
I will grant the indulgence, but let counsel just be reminded that I am available for only this week. I've got other duties next week and the week thereafter, and the week thereafter, and the week thereafter.
I'm going to be very rude and say I couldn't hear a thing, my lady.
Pardon?
The court said the court's not available for the weeks after next week.
Well, that's what I need to tell you,
Yes.
because that is a fact.
I'm sure we'll be finished with evidence by tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. Right. We'll commence tomorrow at 9:30.
Indeed.
in the morning.